Namo Amida Bu. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Wherever you are, whenever you are, in whichever realms of existence you are, in whatever states of mind you are in, whatever conditions you find yourself in. Welcome to my channel. What I want to talk about today was just picking up on a couple of themes that I've been discussing in recent videos and probably other videos that I've made on this channel. And that is the decision to go all in with Amida. That's been a long time coming. And Master Honen's instruction to live in a way, essentially to live in a way, whatever way allows you to say Nembutsu. And so basically those two things, those two things are very much guiding pretty much everything I do now, in addition to all the other teachings of Jodo Shinshu, Orthodox Jodo Shinshu Buddhism. But I have made a decision, as I say, to, no matter what, follow this path till the day I die, and follow only this path till the day I die. No matter what happens, even if my ass falls off, I pick it up and carry it with me on the Orthodox Jodo Shinshu path. No matter what comes into my mind, no matter what doesn't come into my mind, no matter what happens in my life, I'm staying on the Orthodox Jodo Shinshu path. And that path alone, only. No more veering off. And then with regard to Honen Shonin's instruction to live in whatever way allows you to say Nembutsu, he was referring to basically whether to, the question of whether to live a married life or not be married, or live a cloistered life or a life of a monk or celibate life or not, or to live a wanderer's life or live a householder's life. And basically, if any of those don't allow you to do that, you should choose a different way of living. Whatever way of living, if you're living a way of living that isn't allowing you to say Nembutsu, then you should try to choose another, or live in whatever way allows you to do that. So, for me, I take that, when he says live in whatever way allows you to say Nembutsu, I think of, I wouldn't be saying Nembutsu if I weren't grateful to Amida. And taking refuge in Amida and in homage to Amida. And I wouldn't be grateful to Amida, in homage to Amida, or taking refuge to Amida if I didn't wish to go to his land. And I wouldn't wish to go to his land unless I had entrusted to him. And I wouldn't have entrusted to him if I wasn't open to his dharma and he hadn't, worked in my life. And I wouldn't be open to his dharma if I hadn't and continue to live deeply, listen deeply to the dharma. I wouldn't be open to his dharma if I didn't listen deeply to the dharma, work with a good teacher, and have good karmic causes from the past. So So that's all summed up for me in Nembutsu. In his instruction to say Nembutsu. That's just my own way of looking at it. That's just my own, thing that comes to mind with it. But so anyway, for me, I'm basically living my life by these two things: decision to walk the Jodo Shinshu path no matter what, and to live in a way, whatever way enables me to say Nembutsu. So anything that doesn't allow me to say Nembutsu, and anything that is not compatible with the Jodo Shinshu path has got to go. That includes recovery programs, whether spiritual or secular, or even Buddhist recovery programs. They're not compatible with living the Jodo Shinshu path. I just personally, for me, they're not compatible with that in a number of ways. One being, first of all, they're part of the 95 non-Buddhist ways. Some of them are. So, that's their origins come from either the 95 non-Buddhist ways, whether it's secular or spiritual. There's some kind of philosophy underlying it that's not in sync or compatible with Buddhism, let alone Jodo Shinshu. Also, the general underlying premise of these recovery groups, from my Buddhist perspective, is flawed, is wrong. And then, as far as the Buddhist recovery programs, even if they interpret the whole addiction thing in a Buddhist way, it's still self-power Buddhism. So all of them have got to go. I never really actually participated. I checked out the Buddhist recovery groups and never really participated in them. But I have checked out 12-step recovery programs, both the spiritual version and secular versions, as well as other non-12-step programs like Smart Recovery, Life Ring, etc. And again, each for different reasons, which I won't get into too much in this video, are just flawed. They're just flawed in their approach, and definitely are from the 95 non-Buddhist ways, whether it's secular or spiritual. So they got to go. And like I say, even the Buddhist recovery programs I'm not going to participate in, because they're all about self-power Buddhism, and it's just not compatible. In fact, I don't even think you could do a Jodo Shinshu version, an orthodox Jodo Shinshu version of recovery programs, because we don't rely on Amida Buddha. Even if somebody tried to do that, we don't rely on Amida Buddha or any practice or anything for worldly things. We don't, for worldly help. If it happens, if Amida, gives help in some way, then that's because of, but we can't rely on that. We don't pray for that. That sort of thing. It's just not part of our teaching. It's not part of our path. Anyway, so again, not getting too far into any of that, but so it's got to go. Anything that is not compatible with the orthodox Jodo Shinshu teaching has got to go, including recovery. Now, the reason I feel fairly confident to say that is because, with regard to recovery, is I abstained from gluttonous eating. Addictive eating. My addictive substance there being highly refined carbohydrates and unnaturally high-fat foods. These are the things I just can't eat safely, for one reason or another. But so I abstained from that for about 5 years, up until about several months ago. Various conditions, I guess, came together and in my life, and I just wasn't being careful and wasn't planning the way I normally plan, and had let up on my disciplines about my eating and my health a bit, just enough, not a lot, but just enough that I ate again because of various, and not because of, but that I ate that in a gluttonous, started eating in a gluttonous way again. But I did, prior to that time, refrain from it for like 5 years. And that's the longest, and that was on my own. That was just me on my own doing that. Because, basically on the basis of realizing there's certain types of foods and eating behaviors I cannot handle, I cannot do safely, I cannot eat safely, and to know that, and that it does a lot of damage to myself, and a lot of damage. It damages myself, damages my relationships. It causes potential harm to myself and others by continuing to do that. And so that's irresponsible and immoral. Me knowing that, it's irresponsible and immoral for me to continue to do that. And so on that basis, I stopped. And the longer I did that, the easier it became. Whereas with 12-step, for instance, 12-step programs, or even non-spiritual recovery programs, the longest I had abstained was less than a year on average. The more I look back at it and average it out, less than a year. 6 months to less than a year. 6 to 9 months maybe. Whereas on my own, do you know what I mean? Wasn't doing any practice to abstain. I just stopped. Along with, and I had stopped drinking a year before that. So on my own, I haven't picked up a drop to drink in 6 years. So approximately something like that. Over 6 years it could be. But anyway, so now, and the reason I wanted to stop drinking back then was I was trying to, it just didn't do me any good. Again, it was for health reasons. It just wasn't doing me any good. It didn't, other than, the pleasure that one derives from it, from being intoxicated, but it didn't really do me any good in any way. And now I am, and as a Buddhist, I was a Buddhist then as well. I've been a Buddhist for quite a while. And as a Buddhist, I wanted to try to follow the 5th precept. So that was why I stopped drinking, and that was why also that I stopped Hello. Sorry, just greeting some dogs on the path. So anyway, so so I wanted to honor the fifth precept. I wanted to live by the fifth precept, both with my stopping drinking and then stopping eating in that way, because to me it's a similar thing. It's a kind, for me, highly refined carbohydrates and highly fat foods are a kind of intoxicant for me, are a kind of drug for me. They operate differently than drugs and alcohol, but it has neurochemical effects. It has all kinds of effects that essentially make it a drug for me. So I personally, that's part of honoring the fifth precept. At that time, it was. Now, my approach to it, and actually for the past year and a half, for the time that I was in, when I was still abstaining, I am abstaining again. I'll get to that in a second. But when I was still abstaining, I was still part of the Amitaji Sangha. Once I became part of that Sangha and made the decision to be a part of the Sangha and follow the path, I was doing it in gratitude to Amita, following the fifth precept. Now, obviously, I wasn't honest with myself about my doubts and questions that I had. I suppressed them, as I've said in previous videos. Convinced myself I had been given Shinjin, and really convinced myself I had Shinjin, but hadn't. But at that point, that's how I was approaching it, is just in gratitude to Amita. I wanted to honor the fifth precept. I wanted to try to follow the fifth precept. And that's how I'm approaching it now. Several months ago, I picked up, quote unquote, again, I picked up the sugar, flour, and high fat foods, and became a glutton again for, I don't know, it was about a month or two, and then stopped again, and I've stopped ever since. It's been since the beginning of September. So September, October, November, December. So about 4 months, as I say. So about 4 months I have been abstaining again. And several months ago, before I did start to abstaining, and in that 2-month period, I started going back to, in my desperation. It really scared me when I picked up again, when I started eating like gluttonously again. It really frightened me, and it does have a major impact on you. So it affected my behavior, it affected my thinking, it affected my just general with-itness, I guess you could say, my general ability to focus, and so it messed up a lot of things, including my whole relationship with the Amitaji Sangha, my former sensei Josho Adrian Curlia sensei, and with my close armed brother Joshin, and that was partly why my thinking was toward it. It was also because I had, for a year and a half before that, though, had suppressed my doubts, suppressed my questions, convincing myself I had Shinjin, and then obviously if I'm self-deceiving myself, then and deceiving others, because I didn't deceive others on purpose. I really was not doing it on purpose. Honestly, it's because I believed it myself. So anyway, that's the other reason everything kind of blew up in my face. On me. That's all on me. I'm not blaming it on the food. I'm not blaming the fact that because I wasn't eating addictively. I wasn't eating gluttonously for a year and a half or whatever it was, or a year, while convincing myself I had Shinjin. That was all me. So I'm not blaming that on that, but it did make my behavior that much worse. And again, that's on me. It's on me. My addiction's on me, first of all. My gluttonous behavior's on me because it's I have that tendency because of my past karmic causes. So I'm responsible for it. So I'm not blaming it on the food, or I'm not blaming it on anything like that. But it did make things worse. It did make my mind state, my mindset worse, and my behavior worse, and my arrogance worse, and my anger worse, and my outburst, I suppose you could say, worse. But again, it's all on me. I'm not blaming it on the addiction like they do in recovery programs. It's on me, all on me. So, but anyway, when that happened, I freaked out a bit. I was like, okay, I need some help. That was my immediate thing. I need some help. And going back on habituated patterns of going back to these recovery programs, as a knee-jerk reaction, as I had done for off and on in my life since the early 90s with these recovery programs. And I thought I need help, and didn't even think it through, didn't even think, and I wasn't, because at that time I was in the mindset, I'm not following Jodo Shinshu anymore. I'm going to find a different Sangha. I'm going to go with Tendai Buddhism, or I'm going to go with Nichiren Buddhism, or I'm going to, and I started looking into that and yada, yada, yada. So I wasn't really even thinking about whether it was compatible with Jodo Shinshu or not. Actually, at that time, I thought it would be, I thought it would be very compatible with Buddhism in general. I've come to realize it is not. It really is not. Finally, I've seen that in past years, many past years. I've seen that to some degree, but didn't really kind of accept that is the case. So anyway, I jumped into doing these, and then my head cleared after becoming abstinent again. From abstaining from gluttonous eating, and abstaining from addictive eating, or abstaining from eating highly refined carbohydrates and unnaturally high fat foods, and all the behaviors go with that. Once my head cleared, within a few weeks, I would say, finally, because I was back and forth. I did all kinds of stuff still actually in that period. But my mind cleared up enough that I realized, oh crap, what a major mistake I've made in leaving the Amida-ji Sangha, leaving the tutelage of Josho Sensei, and leaving behind my Dharma brother Joshin and the Dharma brothers and sisters in the Amida-ji Sangha. I realized, well, what an incredible mistake that was. And then I thought, well, I could somehow make it compatible. I could make 12 steps recovery. I could somehow do that to clear the channels of faith and all this. I was still really messed up, really confused, really messed up. Went back and whacked back and forth with that, and no, I got to just follow other recovery programs, or sorry, I got to follow other forms of Buddhism, and back and forth, and then ended up messing up even more with Joshin and Josho Sensei again with some messages on YouTube. Anyway, because I'd put a video up about saying, well, saying, oh, how I was, perhaps I've never really cleared the channels of faith, and that's why I didn't have Shinjin, and so therefore I could do the 12 steps to clear the channels of faith. I was really messed up and really confused. I realize now I was really not, it's really not compatible. So that's one of the things I realized about recovery programs, if I haven't said that already in this video, is that they are self-power. They are forms of self-power, whether you did it in a Buddhist way or a spiritual way, some other non-Buddhist way, or you did it as in a secular way. It's still self-power. It's still a self-power thing going on there, and it's just not compatible. But that's why I went back to them. And I even thought once I kind of made the decision to follow the Jodo Shinshu path and live in whatever way allows me to say Nembutsu, I thought, okay, well, I'll use recovery programs in a totally secular way, whether it's 12-step or other recovery programs, and not use Buddhist recovery programs, because that's obviously self-power, but use recovery programs in a totally secular, medical, kind of totally non-spiritual approach. And I thought that somehow that was what I needed to do to allow me to say Nembutsu. And again, didn't need to. I realize now. I realize that they caused me so much confusion. It had back and forth and so much confusion with it, and trying to keep it all straight that I'm just doing this, especially in the 12-step groups, just doing this as a secular program. And they have secular OA meetings, they have secular 12-step meetings, but even in them, most of the people are atheists and agnostics, and you hear that whole crap philosophy going on, when you're trying to just recover. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. It's not compatible. I personally don't think recovery groups are compatible. Recovery programs and groups I don't think they're compatible with Buddhism in general, and certainly not compatible with the Jodo Shinshu path. So they got to go, and that's why I did that. And that's what I'm doing with everything now. Anything, for instance, I've recently clearing out. We moved house several months ago, and I'm finally getting a chance now to start really properly going through the stuff in my office to get to rationalizing and get rid of stuff, and reorganize things and stuff. And one of the things I've gotten rid of now is some books on philosophy that I've kept for years. Friedrich Nietzsche, Ayn Rand books, anything like that, anything that was a deeply influential Western philosophy in my past. I just got rid of them because it was just the association. They're always there. To me, it was just not compatible. Having them around is just not. It's not a compatible thing to my Jodo Shinshu path. So they got to go. Anything that is in any way for me is does not allow me to say Nembutsu, it's got to go, or interferes with that, or causes any kind of, this isn't any kind of practice. It's not any kind of self-power thing. It's just, looking at things. Is this aspect of my life interfering in any way with my Jodo Shinshu path? So anything that isn't is going. That's basically it. Anything that is not compatible with the Jodo Shinshu path, anything that's not compatible with my my decision to go all in with Amida, anything that does not allow me or enable me to say Nembutsu has got to go. And that's just the simple fact of it, and I'm going to continue doing that. you know, and I know at some point it will. I won't go anyway. I won't go into that. I was just gonna get. I'm gonna wind up in the weeds if I just had another thought there, but I was just like, no, this is a good place to leave it, I think. So yeah, that's it. I'm all in with Amida, and anything else has to go. Anything that interferes with that, or it distracts me from it, or has to go. I mean, obviously, I know I'm living samsara and everything's going to be distracting. I'm always going to be distracted because I'm a bamboo. I'm always going to have, you know, blind passions and obscurations and attachments and aversions and all sorts and cravings and, you know, and grasping and, you know, confusion and, you know, that's in frustration and, you know, that's all going to be a part of my life. And so there's going to be things, you know, everything's a distraction in samsara. You know, everything. If you're in samsara, everything is a distraction. That's just the nature of samsara. So, but I just mean anything that is, you know, I've given examples of what I've meant. So, I hope that's understandable. And yeah, all in with Amida. Thanks. Namo Amida Bu.